All right, guys. So we're here with Walter and Shirley, and I thought it would be interesting to hear a little bit about their experience at the Chinatown Service Center and their legacy at the church and whatever else they want to talk about. But I just want to share a little bit for myself, and I want to thank them both because I don't know if you realize that you guys are probably my biggest supporters at the church. And I mean that in a sense that when I started volunteering in 2001, no one knew who I was. And I remember Eric Lum came up to me and said, "Hey, are you new here?" I told you a story many times. I said, "No, I've just been here 10 years." But when I would come on Saturday mornings to tutor, you all would say, "Hey, Gary." And nobody calls me Gary in my entire life. And I don't even like to be called Gary, but my point was I didn't really care because you said it so enthusiastically. I've never corrected you or even said anything, and it sounds kind of feminine. So, but my point is that that's how much of a difference you being nice to me made, and it was because of the tutoring that I actually got connected with Juanita Chan. I started doing a summer enrichment program, which was a summer school, and later that kind of propelled me into being a teacher, taking out my youth ministry, and that made me want to come back to the church, and ultimately led to my profession. So, and Uncle Walter, every time you meet a pastor, when we've had the pastoral candidates, you've always been, "This is Garrett, our youth what is it? Our resident youth pastor. What would you say?
Youth pastor.
And it's not true, but I appreciate the support. So I would say that you're number one because not even Mrs. Chi cared about me, and she's a nice woman. Oh my! I mean, so when I would go a few times to the young high school ministries, nobody cared about me, not even Mrs. Chi, and I'm not here to complain. I'm just letting you know that if it wasn't for you all, I would not be part of the church. So, with that being said, appreciate all you've done, and I want to get a chance to hear a little bit more about your experience in the church and whatever else you want to talk about. So, let me just start, Walter and Shirley. How did you all meet? Maybe we could just give a little background, and then how did you come to the church? And you guys can share however you want.
Well, that Garrett. Well, first we want to acknowledge, you know, you and all the fine work you're doing, especially with the young people, really. And yeah, we place our hope in you and being able to revitalize our church, really. And we're very optimistic. When we go to church, we see all these young people there, really. And I know that you spend a lot of effort, and not just effort, but it's your time that you spend with them. And so that is, we really appreciate that. And so I think we have hope. Now, it's very apropos you asked that question in light of John Lem's passing and so forth. And in terms of how we met, really has something to do with John Lem and Madge, really. I was in Houston in 1972.
They were your matchmaker. That's why I was told one time. But let's go back though. But you're right. Am I correct?
I was in Houston. I just finished up law school. I was working in a grocery store, and then John and Madge Lem came to visit in Houston. They were there for a wedding, and they saw me there, and we just started chatting. And I told them I'm going to be leaving for Washington D.C. soon. And the first words that came out of Madge's mouth was, number one, I think, was the church. She told me about the Chinese community church and so forth. And we talked about that a little bit. And then secondly, she said, I know just the right person for you, basically.
Did they even know you? Did they even know you at all?
No. They didn't know me. It was our first time, basically.
That was quick.
And that was very quick. So that young lady turned out to be my future wife. But that was years later. But the other thing I wanted to mention, since we're talking about John Lem, is that when I came in 1972 in July, with my younger brother. I was looking for a place an apartment. I didn't have a car, and I needed some place where the subway system was not in place yet. I was hoping to find a place where I could walk to work. I could not find it. I looked for about over a week, and I always like to tell people, I didn't know anything about. I didn't know anybody in the area, and I ended up. I didn't know the location. I didn't know the safe areas. I ended up staying in some lousy motel on New York Avenue. But anyway, luckily I made it out of there and so
This
forth.
isn't. This is that still around, that whole motel?
It's called. I still remember the name, but I think they changed the name. It's the Envoy Motel.
Oh.
But anyway, to make a long story short is, so I didn't know anybody here. So what did I do? I called up John Lem. They gave me their number. I said, I'm just looking for an apartment. I'm staying in a motel, and he, of course, very graciously invited my younger brother and myself to their home in Upper Marlboro. And so I must have been
Near where
there.
our Shirley lives. Is that where you lived?
That's right. Well, in Suitland, Maryland.
Oh, okay, never mind. Sorry, somewhere in PG. Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
right.
But anyway, so they hosted us for at least 2 weeks. We stayed there. Match Lamb cooked, lavish meals for us and so forth. And they took me around and looked for apartments and so forth. So I finally ended up finding an apartment on Capitol Hill.
Just a side note, it makes me think of Miss Teresa Chi. I think I told the story before.
No, what's the story there?
So the story was she came to America and they said go to Chinese Community Church, and she came over the first night and they said you can sleep in the kitchen.
Really? Who told her that?
Whoever was running the parsonage or whatever.
Okay.
So I just want to say that.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
She wasn't happy, so at least you weren't. You had a little better
I had
experience
it much better.
than sleeping in the kitchen. She was pissed because she
my
said she came
goodness.
from the airport at like 1 o'clock at night,
Yes,
and she was hoping to get to bed.
Oh, no.
Wow! We never heard
Like,
that story.
she was. I guess God was preparing her to build character. Sorry,
Oh,
but
you
anyway,
know
so
that.
not too,
Oh.
not as bad as some other people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right,
no.
right.
No, I met Match because
No, you tell them how you met Matt.
I met Match because I lived in Suitland, and John Lem and Match were married at that time, and they lived in an apartment very close by, within walking distance.
I see.
And then at that time, I went to work in DC government, and she went to work, I think, in a bank. So we met at the bus stop every morning.
And when you're Chinese, you're like, oh, hey,
That's right.
let's be friends, right?
That's right.
Back in the day.
So then we met, every single morning for a long time. So we just talked to each other. I found out about her. She found out about me, and she was, of course, like you say, we were Chinese.
Were you both? So you didn't go to the same church back then?
No, I did not.
You went to a different church.
I had gone to a Baptist church in DC in our neighborhood.
Okay.
And then when we moved, we probably stopped just going at all. That's what happened. So she and John had been going to the Chinese Community Church in Washington D.C. So she invited me, of course, to come to the church. I met John. My mother met John. The whole family. At that time, John's father was still alive. We even met him. We met, his brother Philip, and then I started going to church, and then they were excited.
What year is this, by the way? Sorry, just for people.
What year was that? I don't.
Before 1972, obviously.
Yeah, before 1972, obviously. 1971, maybe. Something like that.
A couple years before.
50 years ago, when you were.
When I was very younger.
Before I was born. Okay.
That's right. Yeah. So very much younger, of course. Yes.
Side note: I didn't know this about John, but I think he knew Reverend Hung from Detroit.
That's right, he did.
So he followed him to.
He did. He mentioned that.
Kind of knew something.
Yes, he remember him from Detroit. Yes, that's why he came to the church here too. Yeah.
So you came over and you guys met at church. You met John, and then how was that from there?
Yeah, I started going to the church, and I went, I think, in the beginning, mostly for social purposes. Right?
Oh, yeah.
For I brought my friends with me. Actually, Texas didn't know about the church. Texas Chi would, he lived out in Germantown or Gaithersburg, and he would come in every weekend, basically, and stay with me in my Capitol Hill apartment. So he and I would do a lot of things together. We got other friends that we knew, and we went to the church to check out the girls, of course. That's what we were doing.
Yeah, but that's fine. But the problem is you didn't go to service.
Well, that's interesting, because one time
I'm kidding.
Ruth Chan, called us on that. she saw us and she said, we went for lunch and so forth. She said, how come you didn't go to service? Now, of course, we didn't have an answer for that. But I think sometime after that, we started going to service.
You know what? You need a few older ladies to get you in line. And I think that's probably normal.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah.
She could see you coming from a mile away. She said, I know what those guys are doing.
Well, Ruth Chan was the organist, so she looked out and she could see who was there.
And this was in
L Street.
In
L Street, so the church was quite small, and so she could tell who was attending and who was not. But that's right.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Sorry to put that detail in there. So you started coming to church in the 1970s, and then how did you feel involved? How did you get connected? Was it instantly or?
Well, I didn't really become that involved, I guess, in the church matters. I ultimately, I think, was asked to be on the board, but that was some years later, basically, But I think we became really more involved, I guess, in terms of the tutoring program, and I think we became involved with that because of Timothy, right?
Oh, that was much later.
That was much later.
On L Street, though.
Okay.
Right away when I came to church, I remember meeting Maison.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then they said, "Oh, we need a Sunday school teacher."
That's my Sunday school teacher, May and Bobby.
She was. Oh, that's right.
But I got along with Linda, who's not part of the picture anymore.
Oh yeah.
I kind of like Linda more. What was her name?
Linda. What was her last name?
Linda Lung?
No.
The wife, ex-wife.
Bobby's ex-wife. I can't remember
her name.
I don't know
her
but
last, yeah.
I was.
Right.
She was very sweet.
She was very sweet.
Very good compliment to Bobby.
Yeah, she was involved in church. Yeah. But that's the reason right away they recruited me. They needed somebody in the nursery. And then, so I was the Sunday school teacher. Then I advanced up to second or third grade. Or
you got promoted?
I got promoted.
I'm glad I got promoted. I don't like little kids. I don't. But go ahead.
I forgot what happened. Yeah. And then I like coming to church. I like the people, and I like even the older ladies. I got to know them pretty well. I wasn't in the choir or anything, but everybody was always very friendly. And even I got to know Ruth Chan's sister, Debbie Sham, really well. And she was living with actually Ruth. And she and I used to do things on weekends. Go to the movies, hang out.
Is she she's like 10 years older than you?
She's
or 15,
older,
20, 20? Oh, 30.
Oh, I don't know how old she is.
Oh, Debbie Sham. Yeah. She was probably at least 20, 25
so
years
kind
old.
of like like a big sister.
Yeah, kind of like a big sister.
Okay.
But we got along. We were. She's easy to get along with. We're pals. And she's trilingual, but she spoke English. Of course, we chatted in English. So we had a lot of fun together. And Ed and Juanita would invite us over. That was really nice of them.
This is in the 70s?
Early, yeah, probably. I don't know. You weren't around.
Did they invite us together?
No.
Ed Chan invited me over, basically, when I was new. Right. I mean, that was very hospitable.
Yeah. He wanted you to work. That's what he does. He invites you over and he says, I need you to work on my backyard.
No.
Oh, he wasn't? Okay, because that's what he does now. Yeah.
No, we just went over as a social thing.
No, he was very hospitable, basically.
That's why we like to pay that back by inviting new people, getting to know them just the way they used to do that to us, to make everyone feel at home and getting to know the city, things like that.
Yeah, talking about Debbie Sham, as it turned out, Debbie ended up living in the same apartment building that I was living. So we had our own
Where was your apartment in KC?
It's right behind the U.S. Supreme Court on 2nd Street, Northeast.
Not too far from my dad's house.
Yeah, I know that. No, you're just like 2 blocks away.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Nice area.
We had a nice little community there, and we all would come to the church, basically.
You ever go to Pete's Diner? Was that around back then? The diner next to...
Which one?
Pete's Diner.
I know, I don't remember that one.
Okay, no worries. No worries. That's on Pennsylvania Avenue. They had a few bars and restaurants there.
Pennsylvania Avenue was just, it was great,
when we went to Hawk and Dove.
Hawk and Dove and so forth, some of these places.
Not around anymore.
No.
That's true.
Yeah, but anyway, it was great. It was a fun time, like you said. We met a lot of young people and so forth, and at church and outside of church, and so did a lot of things together. Yeah.
That's right, yeah. So I guess we were always in... at least for me, maybe you too, we were always involved in some sort of tutoring program they had at church for, I guess, children in the beginning.
They call that the Thompson Project, right?
Is Rita Moy a peer of yours, would you say? Rita Moy?
Yes. She
At
came
one point, Rita Moy was the
in charge.
director of the Thompson Project.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, she
By the
was.
way, she's why I became a Sunday school teacher. So for
Oh,
you,
yes,
you
right.
got roped in by who? Maison?
Probably, yeah, because she asked me. They
So
needed a nursery school teacher or something.
So Rita Moy was the one that
Yes,
told me
right.
to take over her class. But
Mhm.
I remember just since you're trying to understand the
Mhm.
timeline,
Right, yes.
Rita Moy told me that she was there at the very beginning where they would almost kind of
Mhm.
reminds me of myself. Like you would just knock on people's houses and be like, hey, your kids, like almost do
Mhm.
evangelism and try to advocate for the programs you all were doing.
Yeah, right.
Some of
Mhm.
that youth outreach.
Mhm.
So she was there at the very beginning, huh?
Mhm.
I
With
should-
John?
She was.
I should point out in one of
Yes.
these books here,
Mhm.
they actually printed Rita Moy's sermon that she gave in 1985. Really?
Was she disqualified after that sermon? Or I didn't know she gave a sermon. That's
No,
fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's the one and only time she ever gave a
did,
sermon,
Yeah. Mhm.
and it was about the Thompson Project,
Awesome.
trying to get people to help and so
Yeah,
forth.
right. The volunteer. Yeah.
You know,
Actually-
and I think in it she quotes
Mhm.
she quotes from a passage in the Bible, actually,
Mhm.
James. I think it's chapter
Oh,
2,
yeah, the
verse
one,
14 through 16,
Right. Mhm.
about we need to do, not
Yes.
just believe,
Not-
but we need to
not to
serve,
hear the-
basically.
Right.
Yeah,
And
that's
I don't think our church needs to place more emphasis on that. But anyway, Rita was a real leader,
Yes,
a
right.
forerunner,
Mhm. Yeah.
basically, in terms of getting a lot of people to help.
Yeah.
Yeah, like people like Wally was helping.
Yeah, different people.
you all had a good
Church.
generation.
We,
You had
Aw.
a bunch of good peers, I'd say.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think you had a good run, your generation,
That's true.
and still to some degree are
Yes,
very
right.
helpful.
Mhm,
You
you're right.
Yeah.
and your peers.
Yeah, we did
No.
have a lot of people. At
But
time.
that
Mhm.
Thompson, and actually I recall this too. I think I was just going there maybe a year or so,
Uh-huh.
and John Lim was not a part. He was also part of the Thompson Project, helping kids and so forth. But they also had a program, a tutoring program for adults on Sunday. I think after service, basically.
Yes.
And he had me substitute for him a couple of times, basically. And some of these ladies still come to our church, basically. And but anyway, so they owe a lot of gratitude to John. And John was just so, he was so enamored, he was so wanting to help people.
Let me rewind. So the Thompson Project, is that, I know that's for Thompson Elementary, which
Right.
my wife works at, and Juanita is the local
Yes. Right.
school for a lot of Chinese people. Was that, when you say Thompson Project, is that Monday through Friday, or is this Saturday, or what does that entail? Because I know they did a lot of different tutoring.
They do.
So at that time, what was that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we weren't involved, but I think there was some sort of after-school program,
Yeah.
too.
Right.
Juanita
Monday
Chan
through-
was part of
Monday
that.
through
Yeah,
Friday,
Monday
yeah.
through Friday.
We should probably pay her a little bit more than
Yeah.
for all her work. But it
Yeah.
sounded like she was involved in a lot.
Yeah, I think there was something on Sunday, but there was something also on weekdays and so forth.
Yeah, probably Saturdays with the kids,
Saturday,
helping them
okay.
with their homework.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so that was Rita. She was instrumental in
Yes,
that.
right.
And John.
Yes. Mhm.
Now, just a side note. Just kind of, is John good with kids, or does he just want to help people? Like, does he like kids?
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't really see him as a really good with kids the way I am.
That's true.
Where did that passion come from? Did it matter? It was just anyone.
Well, John was unique.
Mhm.
He liked everybody, I know, and he wanted to help everybody.
Yeah.
John Lim was like someone always on call, basically. People. He was the director of the Chinatown service.
When was that founded?
Yeah, well, we used the year 1977.
But it was probably something was happening for a lot prior, to create that.
We always felt there was always not a center, but the church was always available for
So
people.
and that's what Reverend Hung was like,
That
right?
was- That's what we
No,
said.
exactly.
Yeah. You could always call on somebody like Reverend Hung or somebody. I need translation.
Don't expect to get paid for it though. Like you're just helping people, right?
So this is after hours.
In one
Yes.
of these anniversary books, they write about Reverend Hong.
Yeah.
And they write about him that he was a one-man Chinatown service center. They use those words, basically. So when he founded the church, in 1935, he realized that, people are not just going to come to church because, he's there. You need to help people, basically. So that's what he did. He went ahead and tried to go to each and every family, in Chinatown and visit them and get them to come and to help them basically.
You know what that sounds almost like? Like what a good politician does. You know, you
Exactly.
need
That's what he was.
You need
That's
to be
true.
a grassroots
Yes.
Of course.
mobilizer. Am I
Right.
correct?
No, he
Yeah,
was
that's
very
true.
good at that. He
Yes,
was very good at
that's
that.
the
Yes.
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 Mhm.
that's the formula for.
Right.
But I think that particular philosophy is what John Lim also shared, basically.
Right.
You
But
know,
you think maybe did Reverend Hung kind of mentor John Lem, or were they both just naturally this way?
I don't know.
Like they just
Yes,
both
they-
happened to be so devoted to
Mhm.
the Chinatown community.
you
That's
know,
true. Mhm.
I can only speak for us, and I assume this is for John too.
Mhm.
You know, when we're in Chinatown and you see all these immigrants coming in, even back then there's probably more. There was need to help them, basically. You know, with language, trying to find work, translation, and so forth. So he did all that, basically.
I just want to rewind, just for apologize. Today, what day is today?
The 25th.
25th, yeah.
September 25th. yes.
John, this is September 25th, 2023. John passed away September 18th,
Yes.
6 p.m. So this is a week after he passed. So that's also
Right.
another
That's
reason
right.
I
Yeah.
want for people, if they're
Mhm,
listening,
right.
why we're kind of highlighting his
Yes.
life a little bit.
Right.
Oh yes. No.
Mhm.
No. John was remarkable, really. I mean, people would call on him all the time, and he would, take people to the doctor, probably
Yeah,
take them
right.
to
Mhm.
help them with their citizenship,
Yeah.
take them,
Right.
to
Mhm.
take the oath of citizenship and so forth.
Yes.
Wow,
he was
making me-
always available,
making me feel
basically.
tired just listening to him. Oh my God! Like
Mhm.
you know the difference between that and me? I only want to do fun stuff. I'm not trying to do
Well,
boring
no,
stuff.
that's true. You're right.
You know,
No,
it's
there's
not
a
fun.
difference.
Yes. you
No,
do.
you can relate to the kids, but
Yeah.
these were not kids, though.
He's doing
These were
stuff
not
like
kids.
he's doing stuff like paperwork, Medicare. I mean, he's like the DC government.
Mhm.
No,
He's like a social worker
Yes.
that's what he was.
in addition to his
Mm.
full-time job.
That's true.
Yeah, we should mention that
Yes, that's true.
at some point, he did retire, but
Mhm.
yeah, he was doing a lot of this
Mhm.
when he had a regular job. But when he retired, he had
Uh-huh.
more time on his hands, and we were with the shared ministry at Mount Vernon
Yeah.
Methodist place,
Uh-huh.
and then he was the chair
A community
of the
service
community
chair.
service.
Yes, right.
And he saw that this was an opportunity to really make an impact. So at MVP they have this huge building.
Yes.
All these floors are vacant,
Yes,
basically.
right. Yes.
And he just saw that as an
Mhm.
opportunity, basically. Oh wow!
You
How
know
can
what?
we use that space?
He could have been a businessman
That's
if
true.
he wanted to. It's the same idea. You see that you're trying to build a business
Yes,
and
right.
you want to
Mhm.
expand. Like I see that
No.
entrepreneurial spirit.
John had the passion.
Yeah.
He had the
Oh,
vision.
yeah, right.
And then he got Jim Leung to help him.
Yes.
We're getting all sorts of funding
Yes.
from different
Yes.
organizations.
Yes.
And then was it on the third floor? He actually
He took
got
over the
funding
whole
for a
third
computer
floor.
lab.
Yeah, right.
Computer lab.
A different
I know
room.
Wing would hang out there when he's supposed to work.
Yeah.
He would be chilling on the internet, hiding.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think what you want to know, understand, is that at
Mhm.
some point
Mhm.
the service center may have had as many as 7 people
Working.
employed,
Yes.
some part-time, some full-time, and so forth.
Yes.
And a lot of the funding was through these different organizations.
Yeah.
And John was there almost every day.
He
every
was
day.
He was there.
He may
every
have
day.
slept there. I don't know.
He was there every day, Saturday and Sunday.
And he was not paid.
He was not paid, no. But he understood that a lot of people couldn't do this for free. That's
Shit,
why he got
reminds
funding.
me of myself, the only one not being paid for all my work in Kenya. Oh my
I
goodness.
know. He knew that. That's why he had Jim. Jim was like our grant writer
Yeah.
to get money.
I hope he got free church
Yeah.
lunch though.
No, he didn't get that either. No.
Hope he got a good parking spot. Oh my goodness, that's so.
Well, in Mount Vernon, we did have parking.
I know, I'm kidding. Across the
Yeah.
street, and behind the church.
And behind the church. I
Yeah,
remember that.
that's-
We did. Mhm.
I guess if there's one thing you could say, he had a lot of passion
Yes.
and he was really hardworking, huh?
Yes, he was.
And-
Yes.
Oh,
Mhm.
no.
And a
Yeah.
people person.
Yes, right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
let me just read a couple of
Sure.
passages from
Mhm.
what Dean Lee,
Okay.
a longtime instructor
Mhm.
at the Chinatown Service Center, had to say about John Lem. He said, John Lem's contributions and legacy lives on in the hearts, minds, and existence of all those he touched during his life. He was a lifetime of selfless service to others. In sum, John Lim and people like John Lim will always have an enduring and profound influence in the lives of others, for they are the peacemakers and enablers that offer needing people the basic skills, common dignity, and new freedom to better thrive, to be more confident and productive, and to enable them to leave their own positive effects in this community and our world. So I think that's the point that John he had the vision. He was probably not the best business type of person, really. He needed someone like Jim Lim to help
He
him.
needed organization. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. That was not him.
No,
He's
that's-
not.
Get ideas.
You need some follow through.
Yes.
But
yes.
he had heart.
Yes.
He had
Okay.
passion.
That goes a long way.
It does, but
That's the most important thing.
No, that's where it starts with. You need that to
Yes.
begin with,
I understand because I'm the same way.
and then you got to
Yes.
get people to help you.
Yeah.
But you need someone to do the details too.
okay.
You see, with grants, it's it's no free lunch.
No,
There's obligations. You have to follow through, and he didn't like doing that part. But you do. You need to somehow send in paperwork.
Oh, I'm not a big fan of paperwork.
Well,
either.
but then you have to prove that you spent this money
Yes.
for that reason. So there are the
Oh,
records you need to keep.
so much, yeah.
Unfortunately, that's how it is.
Um,
Much of what John did, it made perhaps it was somewhat overambitious, for the Chinatown Service
Yes,
Center.
right. Yes.
But anyway, he had to try it basically, and he did,
Mhm.
and it did succeed to the extent that he was able to get the money, and it's just a lot of work. And once you get the money, you got to purchase all this equipment. Then you had to find someone to run the computer lab. I mean, it was a massive undertaking.
I had a thought, and I feel that a lot of your generation, maybe you tell me if I'm wrong, understands the connection between being a Christian and reaching out to the community and social justice. That word is too.
Yeah.
It's loaded, but maybe in terms of helping people.
Yeah.
And now that I think about it, I feel like people of your age, they're the ones that kind of appreciate what I do because I do a lot of the community hanging out with kids, and I realize that I think that's something they appreciate me because that's a value that you guys live by. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Right,
Definitely.
Right. Oh, yes. Right.
Definitely. Yeah. No, we want to serve,
Mhm.
and our church
Mhm.
emphasis is on to believe, to be a believer, which is fine.
Mhm.
But it seems like we spend all our time talking about belief, and we don't spend adequate time to talk about to serve, because that goes hand in hand. Basically, it's not enough.
That's what you're talking about. Read them away, James chapter 2, which is.
Right.
I'll show you what I believe in by my good works. That's the passage you're referring to.
Right.
Is it someone who? I think the example people always give, someone who is starving. They're not at a point of being very receptive. To you talking about the gospel. They need to be fed first, basically.
Right. I think there's a quote. I was it? They said, "I hear a lot better once my stomach is not full
when it's growling.
When it's full, right?"
That's right. Growling too
I
much.
understand. Yes.
Right.
That's true. Yes.
So you come in, and when did you kind of take on the mantle, the torch of being involved? Because I know I came into the church about early 2000s, and I do know that you would disappear once a month, and I think that's you going downstairs for doing your the big shots,
the board meeting,
right?
Yeah, the board meeting. Yes.
But I know that you were there and you were juggling, wearing multiple hats.
Yes.
So when did you get involved?
That's true.
Personally,
right.
With the Chinatown Service Center.
Yeah, because I was community service chair. There's a term limit to be chair. So then I became community service chair, which is supposed to be overseeing the Chinatown Service Center. And of course, John had already anointed himself as the executive director of the Chinatown Service Center.
I like that word, anointed.
Well, you should explain a little bit why.
Because he felt he was going out to see other community-based organizations, the government, social service agency. He needed a title.
Yes.
He didn't want to say, I'm just a volunteer.
Right. Yeah. It makes sense.
Everyone else had titles.
Everybody else were executive directors. And he said, well, I am too.
Yeah.
I'm the executive director of the Chinatown Service Center. even though he was not paid and he was a volunteer. So that's what happened. So then when I became community service chair, I started getting more involved because I would go to church, not every day like he did, but I would show up at least maybe.
Well, that's because you still had to be a faithful wife and a mother to your
Yes.
kids. You can't go down there all the time.
So I would go maybe twice a week, maybe 3 times, maybe at the most.
But before that,
Yes.
What year
was
is
that
this?
with tutoring with Timothy? That before?
No. This is
Yeah. That before?
I'm not sure. But then we started going for tutoring because we wanted Timothy, who was in high school. I wanted him to be involved.
So probably late 90s then.
Yeah, maybe.
He was probably around how old? 14?
Yeah, probably.
Chrissy couldn't go because she was in college, so they're 4 years apart.
Yeah,
so I'm guessing that he was around 13, 14?
Maybe, I can't
Yeah.
remember.
So this is very similar, not too much before I came.
Probably,
Yeah, no,
started-
at the same time. Yeah, that's right.
Yes,
Because he's
right.
about 3 or 4 years older than me.
Yeah.
Probably 4 years older than me. He's like Wally's son's peer.
Yeah, right. He is. Yes.
A little,
right.
and
Yeah.
so maybe late 90s.
Yeah, and then we had, like we had all those kids, and they were having fun too. And then we got him involved to help, and he liked it too.
No, he was
they
good.
loved him. Yeah,
Kids relate to him.
yeah. Then he came into a summer enrichment program, so that worked out well too. So I'm glad that worked out for him because I also wanted him because we live in the suburbs, and he doesn't see the immigrant side of our background. So I think it's always important.
He needs a little bit more Chinese, but
also an understanding that life is not so simple for a lot of people. People don't live in a house. They live in a little small room they share with their grandparents. So we would take some of the kids home. We went up to their 401k. They're not really big, beautiful places. And I remember
they stink.
They
smell bad.
I remember this one, little girl at that time. Actually, she's now grown up and married. And I remember she came to our Christmas party. We used to have a church, Santa Claus, and all the whole thing.
Sure, Wallach.
Yeah,
Are
Wallach.
you talking about Wallach or something else?
I don't know if you used to have her at a church or what. Maybe at Wallach then. I remember we took her home because she said, you sit on Santa Claus' lap, and then you tell him what you want for Christmas. And she said, well, she didn't really know what to say. She said, well, I told Santa I want a Barbie doll. But she said, that's not what I really want. I want my very own bed. I have to share this with my grandmother, my bed at night. And it's not easy. My grandmother doesn't like it. She says I wake her up. She moves around.
Sounds like my wife.
So then I wanted Timothy to hear this. I think he was there. I said, you see, you have your own room. You have your own bed. You don't have to share. So that's the difference. I wanted him to understand that too. That when people first come over, they have to work especially hard. Their parents are not home. And it was good that, we have Garrett to take them out on outings. They have no time. Their parents work almost like 7 days a week. If they're off one day, they're exhausted. They don't have time to, go to the park or do stuff like that.
They go grocery shopping.
That's right.
That's what they do. Yeah.
That's what they have to. They have to eat. So that's the reason I think we got, more and more involved.
Okay.
And then because of community service here and being with John at the center, trying to help him. Because he was so ambitious, to say the least, and there was a lot more people at that time working there. There was Lulan, there was another young lady, Anita. Actually, Ryan was there too.
I know, he's scared of John. John wants those numbers.
Yes, that's right.
He wants hard work. He's hardworking. He expects other people to work hard too.
That's true.
I see that.
So it was, and then we had at that time there's Lisa Way, that she was the social worker there. So there was quite a few people, in and out. And then we had people actually coming to the center asking for help. And it was quite a busy place. And people would call on the phone. The phone was ringing constantly. It was
vibrant, I guess.
Yeah, it was vibrant. Yes, you're right. That's a good word. Yeah, there were so many things going on. People, you never know what people wanted.
It seemed like there was 2 churches then.
There
was the spiritual church, and then there was the social service, and then almost like they work in conjunction.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
Yeah, our church, I think, is somewhat unique in that respect. But where Charles Koo came from, the church in Philadelphia, their service center was set up first, as that's my understanding, and the church came later. But in our case, the church was established first, and the service center came later. What I'm saying is, in some places, the focus is really on helping the immigrants, basically.
Well, based on what you're saying, it must have been established together because Reverend Hung was a one-man Chinatown service center, so probably in some
In a
ways,
way,
In a way.
it's always
Together.
been there.
It's
You're
always
right.
been there. He was always
Maybe
helping.
not formalized, but it's
No.
always been there.
Right.
I think we have a reputation, our church, of helping people,
That's
basically.
right. Yes.
And you can tell them about the story about Scott.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of our adult English teacher. Yeah, actually, he may come to the service on Tuesday for John. And what happened was he was working in China. I think he worked for Union Carbide. What's it called? Some company, and he could speak, read, write in Chinese really well. And actually, he wrote like a tour language book to help people to go to China in Chinese and English. And then when he was, I guess the work was going to end in China, he wanted to know how he could come to help people in D.C. because he's coming back from D.C. to live. He wanted to help Chinese people so much. And what happened was I didn't know this until years later, that he met somebody there. What's his name? General?
Oh,
Yes.
General John Fu, the first Chinese general, American.
Okay.
Yes.
John Fu.
Somehow, I don't know why he was there. And he told him, come to Washington, D.C., go to the Chinatown Service Center. And that was so amazing. So he came, and right away he started teaching English. And because he wrote Chinese so well, when people didn't see him, they thought it was a Chinese person. His calligraphy was perfect. And then when they saw him, they said, you're not Chinese.
Wow.
He was that good.
Okay.
So he was involved, and he sort of jumpstarted the adult class. So he brought in
This
a lot
is for
of
Saturday tutoring.
So he brought in a lot of people that he used to work with to come to help him. These were mainly Caucasian people.
What year is this? Early 2000s, or what year is this?
Oh God, this
probably early 2000. Yeah, right.
Yeah, at least maybe even earlier, basically.
Yeah, right, 2000 something.
Yeah, I think what happened, you see, the Thompson Project, that sort of morphed into, that was more of a weekday type of activity. It sort of morphed into a Saturday type program, and then there was also a parallel program for adults and so forth, and so forth. So we were involved more with the kids in the beginning, but then we had fewer and fewer kids. Then we became involved with the adults.
I often wondered if I was older, if I would be able to make a difference with that earlier generation, because there were a lot more kids, and I wonder if I would have done more, was able. But anyways, that's just a side note. The demographics did shrink, so naturally you focus a little bit more on other people.
Right.
I want to give you a curveball. That same time, you were trying to be a nice person. You wanted to do a 2-year tenure for the chair of the board during the transition from M.E.A.T to
I became the chair.
L Street or ...
Yes, right.
How was that curveball, and did you strike out?
Oh, you mean when I became the chair?
Yeah, talk about that, because that was happening at the same time when you.
Yes, we were still in Mount Vernon, but
You must have.
We had to leave.
You were doing 3 jobs now: Chinatown Service Center, chair of the board, and tax IRS.
Yes.
Well, I became chairperson of the board 3 times actually.
Okay.
And none of the, I think there was one time I served. It was not that stressful, really. Everything was kind of normal, really. But I was also there at the time when Pastor Bill Tong was the pastor, and he was besieged.
Oh, was that when Roy tells me his buddies jumped him?
Yeah.
Yes.
Jumped him.
You were the chair. I don't remember that. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Is that when you saw grown men cry?
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. That's when I saw grown men cry.
You know, if I don't know if you would have said, I think we need to take a little break here.
Those were hard times.
Those were hard times.
So you were the chair of board.
Not 1 year I was, but not when he was let go. Somebody else.
There were a lot of alpha males on that board.
Klein was chair.
No, yeah. I'm not sure our church should be that proud of that particular period.
I know.
It was more. I would probably stay awake though. I would probably stay awake during the meeting.
Yeah.
I'd say I'm not going to the bathroom right now. I'm going to.
No, it was a long meeting, and then when some people left. You have to be there to vote. So some people didn't vote because it was so long they left. But I remember being there.
So there were some tough meetings, and you were part of this.
And then they decided not to vote, with a show of hand. but we would just do it on a piece of
Tell,
paper.
tell me some of the things you remember from these tough meetings.
So
Well, I think I was
yes.
there as a board member, not as the chair, though.
Yes,
But, you know,
yeah,
when
I
we
was a
let
board
go,
member. Yeah,
it was very, very
and it
divisive
was
and
by
so
one
forth.
vote
Yeah,
that they decided
That's
to do
right.
that. Because I remember
Yeah.
I got to count the paper ballots.
Was it the election stolen? Or were you honest?
No, well, I don't know, but maybe some people did
Did
leave
they-
though. I don't know. Those people would have
Roy
voted.
told me
Yes.
it was
Mhm.
interesting.
Yes,
His
Well,
buddies, yeah.
I know it was.
you know,
Mhm.
it was very heart wrenching for.
Yes, right,
know,
right,
it-
right. Yes.
I mean, I don't want to name names, but
Right,
you know,
right,
some people it was very personal. So they held certain things against him because he didn't visit so and so, you know, and you know, it was bad. It was bad.
How was Toe during this time? Was he was part of the
Was
board?
he there?
Toe?
I don't think he was.
Yeah, I don't think
Maybe
so.
you took a break then.
He could have. I don't
Yeah,
remember.
toward the
him.
end, he stopped serving basically.
Yeah, I
Because
Yeah,
I know he came back. You said he had a few times he'd come back.
Mm.
yeah. Well,
I know when he was there.
well,
for
the more
this.
stressful time for me as
Yeah.
chair, it was later
Mhm.
when I became that's when I just retired from work and
Oh, you
and
wanted
Toe-
something to keep you busy.
and Toe came up to me. He
Yeah.
said, and I had already served on the board for 3 years already, so
Yeah.
you know the 4-year limit.
Uh-huh.
He came up and they wanted someone else, you know, to be the chair, but this person couldn't do it. And Toe comes up to me. He said, "Why don't you do it?"
hmm
And I said, "Well, I'm just retired, you know. It would be only for 1 year." And so I agreed.
What the hell? Why not? That's what you're thinking, right?
Right.
So you know that is the year when everything went crazy in terms of, you know, MVP said they didn't want us there anymore. They want us to move and so forth.
Uh-huh.
We had to find a new place and
So
so
it was
forth.
kind of like you were evicted quickly.
Yeah, I mean, all this happened within 1 year. I thought, oh, this is going to be a caretaker year. No problem. And then I said, oh my goodness, okay, yeah. So
Mhm.
we had to move quickly.
We had to move very quickly.
So how was that leading that committee? Was that stressful? I mean, did you?
Oh, extremely stressful.
Tell me some of the stories. If you won't want to, you can be vague if you want to. Or
No, it was very divisive, really. You
Uh-huh.
know, some people had literally grown up in that church.
this
And
is
there
L
was
Street
that-
Church. Yeah.
Yes.
There was that legacy of
Yes.
C.C. Hung and so
Mhm.
forth. So you had all that built to it. You had these old timers really
Mhm.
who did not want to leave, basically. And,
I know.
Mhm.
I just felt that, and not just me. I mean, I don't remember what the final vote was, but I think it carried by not just one vote, basically. And
Remember, there was a fundraising to rebuild L Street, like 4 stories up. It was very expensive.
it was so ridiculous,
Was it
really.
$4 million?
You know,
$4 million. That might be cheaper just to
No.
build the whole thing.
no, what happened?
Was it?
I don't want to go too much in detail
Yeah,
about that, but
right.
you know, people
Mhm.
were it was so sentimental, basically.
Yes, I forgot.
And they
how
had
much.
a study had done.
You're
It
right.
were to stay in L Street,
If we
and,
build,
and they
we
want
could build
to
up. Yeah.
redo it,
Yeah,
and so
right.
they would
Mhm.
face a different direction and so forth. I hired an architect and so forth,
Mhm.
and they wondered, well, how much would it cost, basically, you know? And they said it would cost $8 million, you
Was
know,
it
to
8
redo
million?
it.
Okay.
And
yeah.
I said, you know, that's just not feasible. But
Yeah.
anyway, people came up to me. Some people, you know, are the leaders of today back then told me, you know, that I had no faith. Basically, I have no faith. We can do the 8 million. I said, well,
Let me.
okay,
man,
go and try. Go and try.
Some of y'all been hiding your bank accounts then. Y'all.
I know.
No,
we,
no.
we did try. I think that
8
there was some
million.
fundraising. We
That's a
didn't-
lot of money.
No,
we
they couldn't
didn't
raise
get-
$8
we couldn't
million.
even get. I don't think we even raised $1 million that time.
No.
We
Yeah.
Our
I
church
think,
is not that rich,
I
really.
remember my grandfather.
He contribute.
No, but there was a meeting at the
Mhm.
and I remember my grandfather saying to me, "You don't." I think people who have some sort of engineering, they said you don't know about those pipes, and he was worried about like a lot of
Yeah.
infrastructure issues.
Right.
Oh,
So
yeah.
he said it. A lot, I'm sure people who are understand this, like you might not realize all the problems you run into when
Yeah.
you try to do renovation. So he was more in favor of what you said, which is
Yeah.
kind of not undertake such a big task.
Yeah. I know. But anyway, it worked out. I mean, I had a lot of help from people like Richard Lee,
Mhm.
Wally, and a lot of other people helped really. And so we ended up because the hotel next to our church, they wanted to buy our property. They've always wanted to buy our property. So what we told them basically, well, we'll only sell if you can find us a property that we can purchase in D.C.
A swap.
A swap.
Yeah, kind of like that.
And they found one, and it's the church that we're in now. Yeah.
So
No.
you celebrated 2 retirements. You celebrated retirement from the IRS, and then the next year you celebrated retirement from the church board. You probably came home and went to dinner, didn't you?
No,
it was tough.
It was not easy moving either now. We had to do it in a hurry. I'm not kidding you. We had to mobilize people, and we had so much stuff in the, Mount Vernon. It was incredible. I don't know how we did it. I mean,
Chinese people are hoarders now.
Well, most of the stuff, there was a big dumpster, and Mount Vernon had to move too because they were renovating. There was a big dumpster out there. I remember I had to get 2 of our students to help us. Every day we I was there probably every day because of that. John had already left. So we were just dumping things in a dumpster. I even got my mother to get her seniors to come with a brigade of people.
A caravan of
cars to take
took
stuff.
They took some of the computers away.
Take the computers away, to go to Montgomery County dumpster, to dump things, to throw things away.
Man,
it was
I'm
incredible.
so glad I wasn't around. I know you all would have worked me. I know.
You
know what I would have done? I would have legally dumped it when no one was looking.
I know. Because
no, I think the strange thing was they viewed the Chinatown service as a separate entity. The people in the church that weren't helping us get rid of stuff. It's like you're on your own.
So I felt like I was doing it all by myself. I couldn't do so much. I remember I got Wally to come down. Jenny's came down, and then
I would have helped you all get a U-Haul.
They were perspiring like crazy. We had to take things like refrigerators. I mean, these were heavy things now.
We don't look. I'm a Christian. We like to do spiritual things. We don't want to do physical things now. That's beneath me.
This was physical stuff. I mean,
I'm no kidding.
We're talking about table, desk, all kinds of stuff. Heavy stuff.
I did build a library. It took a lot of trips in my car to get those boxes.
Yeah, all that money, all that
I know,
that John Lim got.
Yeah,
we purchased all this.
I can imagine.
Furniture, computer, all that had to be dumped.
Because
at least you had an elevator, right? Thank you, Jesus, for the elevator, right?
True. Thank goodness for that.
You didn't have an elevator, it would not be fun.
But where we are now, at 5th and I, it's a lot smaller, so a lot of the things are not going to fit in there.
Okay.
So that's what happened too. So it was just like, there was no time to think. Most of the time, it had to be really donated or thrown away.
So
it's incredible.
Let's fast forward a little bit, and I want to talk a little bit more now about the your personal satisfaction, or maybe less logistics, about tutoring and mentoring. Those are the kind of things I'm really interested in terms of relationships. And I know that anytime there's a new person in the church, I know what Walter does. He becomes their friend, and then he hands them off to me like a quarterback. He goes, "All right, your turn." And it's not because he doesn't like people. It's because he knows that
they can relate to you better.
It's a team effort.
Yes.
And over the years, I know you've tried to introduce me to many people. Francis, or
that's true.
I was her friend. I tried my best, and I think Uncle Walter, I appreciate. I think you know that if you hand him off to me, I will try my best to be hospitable, which I am. And then Ye Hong was the last person, that you've introduced me to, Evelyn or Ye Hong, but tell me more about some of the personal relationships and you guys and rewards. Some of the things that really touched you over the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah. Well, I think we've always wanted to help, and so it's not just a one-way street of helping people. I mean, we do get a lot of satisfaction from helping people. All I can remember is that I think Shirley used to help this little girl. I can't remember who it was, and then I remember she wrote you a letter. I know that one. I think she moved away to another state. Now, I don't know, is that from Sunday school or something or what? Because we weren't involved in tutoring back then. Really? And I was always enamored. I said, oh my God, this little girl would write her, and correspond with someone from the church. I was just so impressed. I said, wow, I hope that would happen to me one day. Well, when I started tutoring, we're with the kids basically. And my first student was someone named Yin Yi, basically.
Mhm.
You know, her parents owned that Chinatown Express, or what is it? That is that?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the-
right, yeah,
Is that the
Did
one
she
next
move
door?
away?
yeah,
Hmm?
yeah.
Did
Mhm,
she move away?
She
mhm.
moved to the state of Washington.
Yeah, I think I
You know, Juanita
vaguely
knows her.
Okay,
Yes.
But anyway,
Yeah,
uh, and you know, and she would come pretty regularly, so
she
I would
did.
tutor
Yeah.
her
Mhm,
basically.
uh-huh.
Yeah, and she
mhm,
moved away,
mhm.
and so that was my first reward basically. And she actually wrote me a letter, handwritten letter, basically, really, and we corresponded. I don't know, at least
Until email.
at
came
least
out.
10. Well, I didn't do email. She didn't do email
Okay.
back then, you
Well,
know.
maybe people
So
didn't do
actually,
that. Yeah.
we
Mhm,
wrote, and so we wrote back and forth. But
mhm.
anyway, so that was my first student. So I've always cherished that basically. Then we had other young kids like Mabel,
Oh yes. Oh,
and then
yeah.
I don't know if you know the Schenger, what the
Shanger,
sisters.
they live in Waldorf.
Yeah,
Mayor,
right,
Yeah,
right,
you
yeah,
know
right,
you
right.
know them.
not really, but I know
Okay.
I know they
No,
were
of them, yeah.
friends with Judy,
Yeah,
Judy, right,
right,
right.
yeah.
Good buddies.
and
Mhm.
that was also one of the reasons I stayed around because she was my good friend. But anyways,
Oh,
Right, right, yes, right,
yeah.
yes.
So
Mhm.
I sort of helped Schenger. We had
Right,
other
right.
people helping Schenger too, though.
We did, yeah.
And
Mhm.
actually, Michelle Wong actually at one point was a tutor, not very long, and she helped Schenger's sister.
Oh, she did. Okay.
I
Yeah,
don't remember the names all rhyme. Mayor, Jayer,
Yeah,
Shanger, whatever.
yeah, right.
Right, you do, right,
You got to be more creative.
Yeah, no. So
That's true.
so we got a
Mhm.
few people from church to actually help. But see, most of the people that were helping were not part of the church, basically. Especially with the adult, these came outside, you know,
Mhm.
but they were so
Dennis
devoted.
helped.
Yeah,
Dennis
no,
did
that,
help,
yeah,
right.
Dennis
Yes.
was actually the one that invited me, by the way.
That's right. I remember that. Yeah, he
So,
did.
yeah.
I think
He did.
Dennis has always been
Mm-hmm.
very helpful.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
surprises me. You know,
Oh.
you can't always tell. He's very thoughtful, though.
Oh,
He is very thoughtful. I think
yeah,
so too.
yeah.
He is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he is. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But anyway,
Mhm.
so once we got to the adult side of things, you know, I was able to get some great students. Really, you know, I mean, I really felt like I was a teacher. And these people, you know, they spoke some English. I had this woman from Poland. I had this a woman who's a judge in Turkey. And my last one was someone who was from was it
You had Ethiopia.
Ethiopia?
Yeah.
Ethiopia,
right.
basically.
Salam.
Mhm.
You know,
We have a lot
and
of
the thing
Ethiopians.
is, some of these
Mhm.
people I still stay in touch with, really.
Yes, yes.
Like the one from China, you know, her father was a chef at the embassy here, and then the woman in Turkey, you know, we still correspond and so forth. So, you know, we have these nice connections, basically.
Right.
And it's not just a personal thing, but they really felt that I was able to help them.
So let me ask you a question. Is this your first exposure in this kind of position? Like, were you tutoring? Did you know you had this passion or gift before this? Or did you just discover it like in your late 50s, 60s?
No, I never had the opportunity
So
to.
this was the
Yeah.
first time you
yeah.
kind of felt, because
That's
in
right.
my opinion, I felt you could probably have done this for a long time. Like, I think that you could have been a professor or a lecturer, or which what you're doing as a docent right now. But I think
Yeah.
you had that in you.
Yeah, I like being a teacher. I mean, you know, being a lawyer, it's sort of you cultivate the skill about interacting with people, using the Socratic method, asking questions, and then listening to what people have to say, and just trying to interact to build off that. Really, not just lecture, but just have an interaction, basically. So that's
Okay, so
that's the key.
So
That's the key.
you discovered this passion that you didn't really.
Yeah, that's right.
When you're
That's right. I
older.
never had that opportunity to do something like that. Really.
And
Yeah.
Timothy wasn't receptive to your passionate teachings, was he?
Your kids never are. Your kids never are.
So anyway, that was on deaf ears. That fell on deaf ears.
Kids are never.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Because you know some fathers like to pontificate. You know they can do that. I guess.
But no, I think he liked the kids. They liked him anyway. He enjoyed it when he
Okay.
did it, when Juan did that in the summer enrichment. Yeah, that helped a lot.
So
You know.
so any other stories? I mean, maybe anything else you wanted to share relating? I know I'm going to ask you about Hong later, because obviously that's a very important person to my heart. But but we could talk about her later. But anything before we get to that?
No, Francis and Hong, they're both, you know, were very close to me. You know, very easy to talk to and so forth, and so no, we had a great time. And I think they were able to learn from what I wanted to teach them and so forth. And actually, Francis had, as I she invited Shirley and I to get together with
Right.
right before COVID.
Yes.
Right before COVID.
And
Hey, let's
yes.
together. And we hadn't heard from her in
Wow.
maybe since she got married,
Yeah,
actually,
could be, yes.
And then out of the blue, she said, "Hey, let's get together,"
Yes,
basically.
we were supposed
And
to
then
have
COVID
lunch.
came upon us, so
Yeah,
we
so we haven't
have to
done
get
that
back to her, and
Yes.
hopefully we'll get together.
Yeah, eventually.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
I saw her. I know I hadn't seen her in a long time. I saw her at her Thanksgiving. It was kind of.
Yeah, that's what
You
she
sent
came
her
over
the
to your
picture.
I
house.
told
right?
you. I was like,
I'm glad you sent that picture.
it was like the Model T Ford met
Yes, right.
the modern day.
Yes,
You
right,
know,
right.
worlds collide.
Oh, that's so neat. Yeah, I'm glad.
No,
So
no.
she's still doing good. So that's the main thing. Of
Yeah,
course. Yes.
no,
mhm.
no. It's a
Yes. So
no.
yeah, it is our reward. I guess the people that the people we help really it means a lot to us, and they mean a lot. We mean a lot to them, and they let us know. So
Yeah.
that's our thanks more than anything.
Tell me about your
Mhm.
current students. Now, I think maybe you only have two. Now, they're not even students anymore.
Oh.
Evelyn is not a student. She's more of a friend.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
right,
And
right.
then now I've encouraged my Robin's wife, Hadassah,
That's very true. Right.
to keep that fire going for you. And I think
Aw.
it's a mutually beneficial
Yes.
relationship. Tell me about your two current students, Evelyn and our last students, and Hadassah.
Well,
hmm
it's not just about these students, but I think in terms of overall, in terms of what the Chinatown Service Center does, it's not so much the services that are provided, but I think what we contribute is to provide encouragement, basically. I mean, now I have Hadassah, and it's tough for her. It's tough.
I hung out with her last week.
Huh?
I don't know if you knew that.
Oh,
She
you hung up
came.
with her last
Oh,
week.
really? Good. Yeah.
Good,
No.
good.
You know what's special?
What?
We're actually friends.
Your friends?
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
you know
Good,
most
good.
girls don't get along with me.
Oh, come on. Everybody likes you.
No,
Everybody
No,
likes you.
that's what we.
But I'm very happy though. I get along with Robin's wife, so.
Aw.
But
No,
I
that's
try
what
to encourage
we
her.
both feel.
Yes, right.
You
Mhm.
know, it's
Yes.
not one or two things. It's
Mhm.
just that being there, being
Yes.
available,
Yeah, that's all.
to hear what they have to
yes.
say,
Mhm.
give them encouragement,
Yes.
and
Mhm.
so forth. I mean, all immigrants are like that. And I
Mhm.
think that what we both share, I think, is that we're very empathetic.
Yes,
we're not immigrants. I mean, our parents were
Our
immigrants,
but
but
we know what it was like.
we can
Yeah.
put ourselves
We know
into
it was hard for our
other
parents
people's
too.
shoes, basically,
Right. Yes.
and understand what they're going through.
Yes.
I always feel like, God, if I had to go back to China and live there, wow, what would that be? Well, that's what they're doing. They're coming over here and they need help. They
Yes.
need
Mhm.
encouragement. They need someone to
Yes.
listen to them. And hopefully
Yeah.
what we tell them, will have some practical value, but a lot of times it isn't. We don't know that much, really.
No, most of the time
We can't find them a job.
I wish we could do that. I wish we could find them a job, get them a better apartment, have them make more money. We can't do any of that, really.
Yeah.
But the best thing we can do is just being there, listen to them, being sympathetic. So I think that's the part of the service center that's really, really important, that we're there, that we understand. We've been through this, maybe not me, myself, but we understand that it's going to be hard, but you can do it too. Other people have done it, you can do it too. And I think that's the very, very best thing that we do.
No, I know
Now, what Shirley does very well, actually, at the service center, as the director, she's very approachable. She's very relatable. There are some people, I won't name names, that they may be a nuisance at church, they're constantly bugging people and so forth, But Shirley will go ahead and listen to them, basically,
Yes.
and talk to
I
them,
know.
calm
Yeah,
them down.
the names are coming to my head. Okay. Took about a few seconds. Yes.
No, I mean,
You gotta run. You gotta run. Go the other way. We know what we know. We know. I want to be asked to look at this cell phone and try to fix something.
But anyways, that's what it takes sometimes.
Yes, right.
It's the patience
The
and
patient and the caring. I think
the
people
care.
can tell. You don't have to necessarily speak, Mandarin, which I don't.
You don't even speak Do you even speak? How's your Chinese?
I'm not that good, but it's enough to get by. And because they know I care, that's the only thing that matters.
That's the thing.
It shows. That's all.
Right.
You see. Mm-hmm.
So I want to talk about this. Maybe one of our last topics.
Yeah.
You touched about this earlier, and you feel that with every generation, you have your strengths and weaknesses, and certainly you all have highlighted your strengths, which is you empathize. You are very pragmatic with your faith, and you really believe in outreach and grassroots, and you feel that maybe the current generation has kind of lost a little bit of that heritage that our church was founded on. Any words of encouragement, or maybe things you want to say to people like me who are younger, so that we don't miss out on what you've built and the things that you embody? Because I know it happens.
Well, I think all we can do is just by our example, basically. And I think people who know us know, how passionate we are in terms of what we do and so forth. And hopefully, that'll rub off, basically. And hopefully the ministers will, play some role too, basically, in trying to emphasize, the need to serve, basically. I think a lot of it, does have to do with the leaders and so forth. But I don't see our church having that culture of serving, basically. And I don't know how to impress people with that, basically. Especially now, the Saturday program is pretty much non-existent other than by Zoom, and so you don't have that as an example that you can look to, basically. So it's hard to say, really.
But yeah, I hope the young people though will remember their heritage.
Yeah.
Remember, it wasn't so easy for a lot of people, and I know that the new people that coming from China now, maybe they're better educated.
They're probably richer.
Yeah, they're richer.
In fact, they don't want to get in my car. They're like, that car is beneath me.
Yeah, well, because
they have a little more money.
Their parents are professionals,
Yeah.
so they don't understand.
It's different.
Yeah, but I think they need to know anyway.
Except for Evelyn, she's still poor.
Yeah.
That's why we're friends. I only friends with poor people who can't who depend on me for rides.
We need to keep telling them those stories.
Yeah.
They need to hear that it wasn't so easy. That it's not easy, working in a laundry, living in a store, being a waiter, being a hotel worker, living at 401k or somewhere where it's not so, like you say, that it's not so nice. So I think people need to know that, and they need to remember this could have been me if I had came earlier. So I think that we need to remember that, really.
Okay. Well, one of the things for myself, I'm not as involved anymore. It's all about the demographics. What are the needs? And for me, I don't really meet people who, I guess Evelyn would probably be, and Francis would be the only two people I've tried to, in some ways, model you in terms of helping them with English and so forth. But for me, I look at what you're saying and I translate that into, for me, being hospitable. And I know, for example, last year or so, we had two beautiful young ladies come as interns. And when they left, they cried because they felt so appreciated by the group that I try to foster.
Yeah.
So for me, that's my way of trying to embody the values of the Chinatown Service Center. What does that mean? It means I may not teach you English and take you to your citizenship test, but I'll take you to the gym. I'll take you to the movies. I'll take you bike riding. I'll take you hiking. I'll cook for you. I'll take you on vacation. But that's my way of trying to understand your passion.
Yeah. Well, I think we never know how we're going to impact people, basically. I think you do what you think that in terms of how to relate to people. And then I think what you just hope that, they'll pay it forward, basically, in some way. So, you just have to be yourself. And, that's all. It's okay. You don't have to try to copy what other people do.
No.
I think you're serving your own way by being hospitable to them. And
I'll probably blow a fuse if you ask me to go to a meeting. I'm probably gonna, I don't do well in paperwork and meetings as well as you guys do.
Oh, no one likes that, really.
Right.
But I think at some point there may be a time, Garrett, where you may be called upon.
I want to hire someone, and that's what my cousin Everett is, who's overseeing my 501c3 paperwork. But yes,
that's good too.
I'm not good. I gotta Go ahead, Del.
I know,
That's
but
okay.
no, every denomination is a little bit different. You know, the Methodists are, when we're at MVP, I mean, we were so impressed with the older people there. They were, you know, they had these shouting matches in terms of trying to do more to help people and so forth. But we were not used to that. I said, what are they shouting about, really?
Yeah,
They want to do more. They want to contribute
they
more.
couldn't give enough.
They couldn't give enough.
I remember
Yeah.
I attended one of their social service meeting, and it was some disaster. Maybe it was a flood somewhere, and I remember they wanted to contribute, I don't know, $500, and the treasurer says, "We only have 200." Says, "No, we're going to have to do it. We have to do the 500."
Passion is good.
They insisted.
Side note, this is my own personal question. It's hard for me to have longevity. I actually feel kind of, in some ways, burned out from helping people.
You just spend too much time. Yeah.
Right.
And what would you say for? I have my own thoughts, but I want to hear your thoughts. For someone like me, you know, to some degree, I try to do a holistic kind of, you know, not just spiritual.
Yeah.
I look out for people. I think about their financial. I think about them academically. I think about them health-wise. I think about them socially, even romantically,
Right.
and spiritually. So, you know, I actually kind of get burned out.
Yeah.
Well,
Sometimes I had a good run though too, so it's not surprising.
I know it's sometimes you do have to pull back.
Yeah,
and
we all
in a
get
way,
tired.
it's as if you're being a parent to all these. You're younger you are, and you just feel like you're trying to give them some guidance, and in some cases it's very parental basically. And so you have to watch out. You don't want to get yourself burned out to the point that you're not happy with what you're doing. Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, but I think it'll come back to you once you meet someone else you feel you can help.
No, I will.
Yeah.
Well, wait for the phone.
Yeah, no, you have to take care of yourself.
You can hang up.
That's your brother.
That's my
It's
brother.
okay.
Just hang up.
It is. How'd you know that?
Waylon. You said Waylon.
It is, yeah.
Okay, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. No. Yeah.
Oh, that's your brother.
That is.
He'll leave a note. He'll leave.
I'll just tell him to call.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. No, you don't want to get to the point where you get burned out. Basically, you cannot. And there's a limit to what one can do, basically. So don't feel bad if you're like, I there's just so much I can give. I can't give anymore. I don't have the time, and so forth. No, I know.
Well, for me, I'll tell you what I've done. I think it's healthy to be burned out because that means that it's time to change something. Like if you're doing something too much, it means maybe you need to change something you're doing. So for me, I've tried to be more focused on encouraging other people to be replace me, but and try to, instead of trying to be everyone's friend, trying to empower other people to be the friend. So that's just my own take on it.
No, I think that's the way to go. Yeah. Well, you do so much for everybody. Sometimes you need to pull back a little bit. I don't think the young people always expect that you do so much for them, but they're more than happy to allow you to do that. But sometimes and hopefully one day you will have your family, and your attention will
be redirected.
It will. I mean, no,
I know.
No, that takes a lot of energy and time, for family too. No.
Was there anything else you want to say before we end? And maybe thing we missed, or maybe if there's any words of encouragement you want to say to me, or to other people, or to the church, or your friends, and maybe to your son and your children. I don't know. Anybody.
No, I'm glad we had this frank discussion, very open and so forth, and we're happy to share and so forth. And
we really thank you.
Really,
Garrett, for all you do. I always say that. Thank you for all you do.
My back is tired.
Garrett, we have seen your growth from the time that you helped us with tutoring to what you are now. So you have made huge strides, really,
and you make a
difference. You have carried that forward. You've carried the spirit of the Chinatown Service Center on your own and your little community, basically, really.
That's true. Yeah.
And I just hope that more people like you will follow your
Yes.
lead, basically.
Oh.
Yeah, no.
Well,
I think you're doing that. You're grooming these people, and they
Yeah,
see
right.
what you're doing,
Yes, that's
and
true.
hopefully, it will
Mhm.
mushroom. It will
It'll
mushroom. Yeah.
well, if you're saying that Evelyn's becoming more attractive, I agree. And she's growing, and now
She
she's
is.
singing, and
She
also
is.
some of our men are getting
Mhm.
very
No,
handsome.
that's a great example.
It is,
Really, look
really.
what's happened
Yeah,
here.
right.
Kim's is the immigrant,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
she's due to all encouragement
Mhm.
by everyone.
Mhm.
She's going to get her degree early. She's
Mhm.
going to have a professional job. You're so
Right.
involved in the church
She is.
in different capacity. I mean,
We're
really.
impressed. We're really.
I mean,
She's taking kids out. She's taking
you-
kids to the Children's Museum
Oh wow!
on Saturday.
On Saturday?
Oh, you
That's
are?
wonderful.
She is not me, her.
No, Evelyn is to Children's Museum on Saturday.
Oh, okay.
Good for her.
So you can be proud in the sense that you are sort of like a parent. You had
Right,
you
yes.
had a parental role in
Mhm,
that, and
right.
you've seen this
Mhm.
person grow.
Yes.
She's an offshoot. That's right.
Well,
She
okay,
is.
She's like a mushroom. She kind of my spores went into her. And
yeah.
she's sprouting.
I know.
I know.
That's
So you
exactly
never
right.
know,
Yeah.
see?
And you know what?
Mhm.
Just a side note. I've talked about this before, but Tommy is so weak. He is so weak, and he is so weak that it's hard for me to understand.
Well, he needs more bolstering. Is that what you're saying?
He's so physically weak. I often ask him. I say to Tommy, just another one of our group, "You're not even subhuman. Like I don't understand how you like. Do you not experience gravity? Like how can you be so physically weak?" And now he's taking people to the gym regularly, and people look up to Tommy.
Wow.
People say, "Are you working out?" I said, "This is a joke. This is so ridiculous." But you know what? Proud of him. Even though I will never look up to Tommy, but I'm happy that he is able to make other people inspire other people.
Well,
that's
what you have
amazing.
to admire is their growth.
Absolutely.
That's what it is.
I know he came from nowhere.
Yeah.
He was so weak. Even the girls are stronger than him. Chun Ying was stronger than him. I mean, I'm not kidding. And just a side note, also for Evelyn, she ran 15 miles. I don't, she finished 15 miles about 3 minutes after me, and I go, "Did you cheat?" That's the first thing I said. How did you do it? Did you cheat? Did you miscount the number of laps?
Right.
So they are growing very well.
Wonderful.
And I'm happy for them.
Yeah. Well, no, that's how you encourage people. They're progressing. That's all you want.
Yes.
They're progressing. They're going the right way.
Right.
All right.
Hey, let's get something to eat. Come on, let's go get something.
All right. Well, with that being said, let me end this. Thank you, Walter and Shirley.
Yeah, you take that.
We'll end it right here.
You can take that.
And I'm going to. Uncle Walter is trying to get me to chow down a little bit.
Yeah,
so
a little something.
Of course.
We'll end this discussion here, but thank you very much,
well,
guys.
thank you for coming all the way over to spend the time. And
Yes.
this is it's like a historical record
It is.
of some sort. Anyway, hopefully it'll be of some use to people down the road.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Thank
Hope you
you.
enjoyed the talk. All right.
Enjoyed
We
it
did
very
too.
much.